Everything you think you know is wrong. Walk with me now. So last week I talked about how the ego inflates our self-image, and I want to kind of expand on that this week. I briefly talked about biases that we can generate from the fact that our ego is looking at us as a superior being. And I want to get a little deeper into those biases. Your mind is always working. There's not a second of the day where your mind isn't working, where these processes aren't going on within your brain. So there may be a lot of biases that you have that you don't even know about. Things that dictate your behavior before you even perform a certain action. Being aware of it is the first step towards changing it and being able to understand it and work with it. One of the first biases I want to talk about is a conviction bias. A conviction bias is something that you believe, but you believe it with you have such a strong feeling towards it that it's hard for you to even accept the fact that it could possibly not be true. So you have this sort of conviction. You're like, oh, this has to be right. There's no way this isn't right. Think about things that you hold necessarily dear to you, any values, any morals that you have. You may hold these towards a certain conviction and think as if they can't be wrong, like they can't be wrong whatsoever. In order to combat conviction bias, one thing you want to try to do is start to look for things that deny this point that you may believe. Start to look for counter arguments against it and see if there's something that you find that kind of catches your eye. Another bias that we can run into with other people, this could be appearance bias. I feel like it's a little self explanatory because appearance bias, you see someone and you instantly start making judgments about them and their character. So a way to combat appearance bias would be start talking to more people. Start figuring out how people actually are, how they actually behave, and what values they actually possess. Another one that we have, which I kind of talked about last week, superiority bias, which is when we think that we're better than everyone else due to the fact that our ego tends to notice problems in other people as opposed towards problems within ourselves. The way to combat this is just being more self-aware. Just start evaluating yourself. Question everything you do, question everything you believe. Try to find what's wrong. Really look into yourself and see what can you do better and what flaws you can improve. And then lastly, I want to talk about the blame bias. The blame bias simply states that when things go wrong, we tend to blame others instead of blaming ourselves. A way to combat this would be start taking more responsibility for your actions. Start taking more responsibility of what happens to you in your life and start understanding that a lot of the issues that you face and a lot of the problems that you run into, they're because of you. Awareness is the first step towards being able to diminish these biases and be able to work with them. So use this knowledge and see what it can do for you. Thank you for walking with me. I don't got a good view today. I'm kind of in the balls of the forest right now, but I'm getting bit up by mosquitoes, so I got to turn around.
Think I've been thinking too much about what's gonna happen. I've started detaching. I just been focused on falling in love with this rapping. Been staying alone cause I never get hype off of being in all of the action. It's all a distraction. Spend so much time in the woods, I could live in a cabin. And they thinking I'm capping. Cause you wouldn't know the places I go if I ever start losing control.